What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Friday Raiku Townhall. Super excited to be here with you guys. We have a very special episode planned for you. We have a very special guest that we'll be introducing here in a second. But hope you guys are all doing good. Hope you're having a good Friday, and very, very, very excited to get into this one with you guys. David, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. I just got to travel and see some family, so that's really cool. Got to see my little niece and nephew for the first time in a little while. Always good to catch up with them. So sorry I'm not in the regular stream setup today, but out of town. So I am really excited to talk to Robin though, because it's been a minute, dude. We haven't had him on here in a second.
Man, it's been a while. I think last time was when? Before Christmas, actually, last year. Jeez.
Yeah, it has been a very long time. So we have
Yeah.
we have a lot to catch up on.
We do.
So I think let's just dive right into it.
Yeah.
Robin, could you tell us who you are and what you do?
Well, my name is Robin. I'm the founder and CEO of Raiku. I do I'm a fireman. I put out on all fires. I am a product manager. I am generally everything that you need me to do, essentially, in a startup, because that's just how you operate. That's who I am. But for the people who don't know me, my background comes from computer science and computational neuroscience. Been in crypto since late 2015. Spent 7 of those years in Ethereum. Worked on a few open source projects, focusing on core development and DevOps tooling. Then I spent, I think it was close to 4.5 years in venture development and investing. First at an accelerator, purely focusing on helping pre-seed, seed, and Series A startups, developing crypto applications across many different domains. And then served as a tech lead at an early stage venture fund, essentially doing the same thing, but just like with fewer companies. So that's a general background and introduction.
Let's address the elephant in the room first of all. You said you worked on Ethereum for 7 years.
Yes.
What inspired you to make the switch to Solana and build a product from the ground up on Solana versus Ethereum?
So early days, like late 2015, that's when I joined, I guess, in general, this space. It was very different back then. You only had very few, set of individuals who, the sense of purpose was very clear. It was strong. The direction in which you worked towards was it was clear. But then over time, the more and more people who joined this space in general, I think the sense of purpose and direction got diluted, and that happens. That's natural. But especially since, I guess, beginning of 2021, that's also when I think COVID broke out, right? And then suddenly money supply exploded, money got cheap. And then the venture development and investment scene, not just in crypto, but in general, also exploded as a result of that. And at the time I was working at the accelerator helping startups, there was an immense amount of startups who got funded. And I guess that's a good thing, but in general, people didn't really think through the problems that they wanted to solve. And in general, as an industry, I would say we ended up working on problems that maybe doesn't matter too much. And those problems, in the majority of cases, weren't, I would say, like real customer problems per se. It was more solving problems that we as an industry created for ourselves, if you get what I mean. So it became an echo chamber. And I got a bit sick of that. So I guess that's why. That's why I went in the direction of exploring the value proposition, which we're now offering from Raiku. And it was clear that we had to do something very different, right? So having worked in the industry for quite some time before Raiku started, and for context, we got funding in May, June 2024, but Raiku pretty much started as a research project in, I think it was August, September 2023. And having worked in the industry for quite some time before that point, I had the luxury of already knowing quite a few fundamental design principles that we knew worked, but we had to just apply them a bit differently. And for Raiku, that meant going to Solana, essentially. But anyways, did that answer the question?
Yeah, it definitely did.
I think that made a lot of sense. Something that we've talked about a couple times is, that a lot of crypto is DeFi in like particular just seems to be like speed running all the same pitfalls as like hundreds or thousands of years of traditional finance, right? Where it's like a lot of these issues where it's like, oh, it turns out that's why it works the way it does. So where it's like, maybe like you were talking about like solving problems that we've created for ourselves. It's like, maybe we shouldn't infinitely loop leverage on top of itself and base the entire ecosystem around that. Like maybe that doesn't go so well sometimes.
Yes.
But and that's an obvious example. But it also turns out, hey, maybe we should be able to count on getting our transactions to land when we need them to. Like that seems maybe like something that they've figured out pretty well that we should kind of maybe borrow from a little bit. It is kind of funny to see how far the industry's come, and it really is just this speed run, because it's like every 3 months you're like, oh, we learned a new lesson.
So true. It's been a journey for sure. I think we all can agree on that. From where we started, like back in 2014 to where we are now, things have progressed a shit ton in a good way. So we're moving forward. But I think ultimately, though, like if we can one, make distributed systems and the applications which is built on top of that comparable from like a functional and behavioral standpoint to what you have in the traditional financial space, then that's a massive step, because that means that you'll be able to facilitate what your more traditional client is used to, right? And if you can't facilitate that, then we will never progress with all of the wonderful things that we want to achieve in blockchain and distributed systems. So yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Are you trying to tell me that Ponzi's are not sustainable? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
So you're saying the diagram we were looking at last week, Nate, from from MicroStrategy's sideways pyramid that they have on their investor decks. Maybe not so great.
Anytime you see a triangular graph in a pitch deck, run for your life.
Which one was this?
I don't know if you've seen this, Robin, but like Michael Saylor's for what is it called? Stretch, STR, whatever his thing is now.
Something like that.
Yeah.
He has like he's designed like in the pitch deck like this really bad AI drawing of a rocket ship that's like super triangular like this, and it's literally it looks like a pyramid like scheme that just fell over. Like that's literally what the diagram in the pitch deck looks like. We're like, I don't know, man, if that's really what we're trying to go for here, but.
Oh, I think I see it now. It says, is it the one that says long-term target B2C capital structure? Yeah.
I think so. If it looks like a sideways pyramid, that's the correct one.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Guys are richer than all of us put together, but I don't know if I like the financial. I don't even know if I want to call it financial engineering, but you know. I did want to pivot and switch a little bit though, because I know you mentioned, you know, that Raiku has been around now since like 2023. We recently kind of celebrated the 2-year birthday, right? Yeah. So happy birthday, Raiku. That was pretty cool. That was I think you told us that like last week or the week before, maybe.
I think it was a couple of weeks back. So it's insane, really. Time flies. Jesus. Like, it's still such a little baby, but my God, it has progressed since day one. And you were kind of expected to, because otherwise we would have done a very shit job. But yeah, it's been a journey. Wow.
I also know we've been. I talked with Anders recently, and he said that over the last year, what was the number he gave me? I have it somewhere around here. He said that we went from like 6 people in April of 2025 to now we're at 24.05. I'm not sure who's like the 5% of a person that we're talking about. So I'm not sure where he's getting that number from. If that's just like somebody has an extra hand I don't know about, or I don't know what's going on with that number, but.
I have no clue, actually. I should know.
I think he's probably doing it with like contracts, like, because I know we have a couple people that work like a few hours a week or something like that on specific things. So that's probably what that is.
Good. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I saw that. I was like, I feel like somebody's just got an extra body part. So I wanted to confirm we're not hiring just complete mutants over here.
Yeah, we started. I think we were. Yeah, was it 6 people up until, what did you say? April 2025? Because we stayed under, I know, 10 people for quite some time. And then it doubled essentially within the span of 3 months due to, I think mostly it was the engineering team, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every week I log in, I'm like, oh, we have a new engineer. Yeah, hello. Great to meet you. Yeah. How have you managed or thought about, like, as you're constructing the team and kind of building, like you said, you know, going through this sort of progressive stages we've been building Raiku. How do you think about like constructing a team, getting the right people for the right jobs, and then deciding what those right jobs are? Like, do we need more engineers? Do we need, you know, to bring somebody in for marketing or for design or, you know, in growth? How do you kind of think about that whole process?
Honestly, through so much pain, David. Through so much pain. You know, my God, I've done a lot of fuck ups on the hiring side. And now it sounds like I've just hired, you know, really bad people. No, that's not the case. It's been more the case of, well, you know, how are you able to assess people in a domain where you have no expertise or experience? So, for example, in marketing, I'm not a marketing guy. How do I know if someone is good in marketing, and what do you even look for? And I think, you know, early days, I was doing the mistake of, I think, only just looking at the CV/resume. a bit too much. And then also, I think I listened to the opinions of others early days as well when you were hiring for like a domain field, also a bit too much. And at the end of the day, what you really should do is, sure, like hard skills, that's obviously important, but first and foremost, hire for character, good character, and then listen to your gut. And most likely, if you have a good pool of talent, either from your internal network or a friend of a friend, you will find great people with the hard skills, but the character part, that is the most important one. And I think what I also learned is we went through this transition stage where we had the luxury of hiring for like what you call it, specialists essentially within like a really particular domain, because in the early days you don't have money to basically be hiring specialists to only focus on one set of tasks, for example. You need to be a generalist. And there comes a point where, okay, actually having too many generalists will actually hurt the company more than help it. And knowing when you've crossed that point, that's really hard. And that's where the fuck ups come in, right? Honestly, that was a big learning curve. It took some time to figure out, I'm not going to lie. But to keep it simple, though, like hire for character. Because at the end of the day, especially in this startup, you're all in the trenches together. And, cancer can spread quickly. And that can also spread quickly in an organization. So it's important that all of the individuals from a character standpoint can essentially vibe. That's important. Yeah.
Well, Robin, I think you're a little hard on yourself. You're doing a lot better at hiring people and picking people than a lot of crypto companies. You're yet to hire any North Koreans. So, I mean, hey.
Yes. Hey, yeah, that is true. Do you know what? When you mentioned that, I remember when was this? Probably like the first 6 months after we got funding. I was doing most of the first calls for the engineering roles. And I think I actually spoke to 6 or 7 North Koreans. I was just thinking, my God, this is just ridiculous. And this was before the time. Yeah, sorry?
I was just going to say, I mean, yeah, you get a big raise announcement and just juicy target on your back, right?
Yes.
It makes sense. They all come a-flocking.
But I later learned, and I didn't know this at the time, that they do this systematically in crypto companies where they try to get in, then they basically install backdoors and then drain it later. And yeah, no, not good.
That's why we have a security specialist on team now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good hire. On a lighter tone, though, a lot of people in the community, a lot of people that have heard the name Raiku before are curious, where did the name Raiku actually come from? Like, how did you guys originally come up with it? I know we had a name of the company before Raiku, which was SoulForge. So
Yes.
what inspired the switch from SoulForge to Raiku, and where did you come up with Raiku? What does it mean?
Oh gosh, I have it somewhere. So Raiku, there's two meanings to the name. So Rai means thunder and lightning, and then you have the ku at the end, which when put together, you have God of Thunder and Lightning, essentially. But then it also is a Pokemon, which is quite cool. And the reason why we picked it, honestly, is nothing really too deep, but we tried to find a name for ages. My God, finding a name is difficult. And all of like our early ideas were, I guess, from the English dictionary. And when you think that you found something really, really cool, usually the domain is taken or like super expensive, right? And it feels like we just went through like 1,000 names. And all of them were taken, or there were some copyright issues or IP issues. Ugh. And then one day, it was me, my fiance, and we drove to meet up with Walid. So we visited his apartment, sat down in his living room on the couch, and we were all pretty much so we just honestly look up the Japanese dictionary to see if we can find something that we think is cool, and then boom, Raiku. So that's how it came up.
Late night brainstorming sessions, man. It's I feel like everybody's sort of got that garage story. You know what I mean? Like in this case, it's a living room, but it's always just like, man, what are we gonna do? Beating our heads against the wall, dart on the board. Dartboard back there, actually, conveniently enough. But it's just like, okay, now it works. And sometimes it's just
it made sense. God of Thunder and Lightning, fast. It made a lot of sense. And it felt like a big relief because the .com domain was only, I think, $1,000. Brilliant.
That's pretty cheap, actually, for a domain. I don't know if people out there are shopping domains, but they're not getting any cheaper.
No, they're not. Especially when it's like a really easy to spell name and it's short. Ooh, no, that will be very expensive.
So
yeah,
I know a big contention point for this. This is stupid, David. You should probably go, but I'm going to ask it anyways. I know a big contention point for you going bald was, your fiance. So can we get confirmation that once you get married, that we will have a bald founder? Is that confirmed or denied?
I think if I say anything here, I will be in trouble later. So I will decline to comment, and then we can let my fiance decide the fate of my hair a bit later on, I think.
Good answer. That was a great answer. Very political. Good job.
Very political.
Well, but that wasn't a no. So for those of you listening who are really open on this, there is still hope. We'll see. We'll see.
Although I would say that hope isn't like a large hope. It's like a really tiny, tiny hope.
Yeah. Well, besides our struggles to convince your fiance that you need less hair, what are some of the biggest issues or struggles or kind of I guess war stories, if you will, over the past couple of years from building Raiku, from what's something that I guess that you'd be really proud of that to have overcome or kind of gotten through or figured out in this whole process here?
So one was, coming from Ethereum, you're an outsider to the entire ecosystem of Solana, at least at that time. And now, through lots of hard work by everyone at Raiku, we're no longer an outsider. We're in the discussions, meeting rooms, where relevant, important decisions are made for the network and for the ecosystem as a whole. And that took a lot of effort and work. And I think that's something that I'm proud of that we were able to achieve. I think that, I think honestly the biggest one is seeing the team, so like team members from various different domains. So for example, growth and marketing, engineering, that internally the team is communicating like fluidly, and that people can work with each other, share ideas, build on those ideas, test them out. And, you can ask simple questions, advanced questions, and generally people feel comfortable to do that without feeling stupid. That, I think, is the biggest achievement, really, because it's really, you would think it's easy to achieve that as from a company culture standpoint, but it's not. That requires a lot of work. And I'm proud of that. And there is not one single person that obviously has, I guess, worked and achieved this as a result. This is something everyone have worked, all of us has worked on internally, but yeah, that I'm proud of, that we together have created for us, for sure.
It is cool too, because it's not just in like department or whatever. Like, yeah, like obviously we have our own sort of marketing back and forth, some meetings and Slack channels and everything. But one of my favorite things to do is just go bother the engineers in their channel. Like, hey, I don't understand this. Yes. Can you explain? You know what I mean? And and Conrad and Jason and a bunch of the other guys over there will get into a 170 comment like thread over like how the schedule is going to work or something like that. And then everybody else gets to learn and kind of see how all these things work. It is really kind of cool to just. I've said this multiple times on stream before, but everybody here is genuinely world class at what they do. Like whatever their domain is, like they are all really, really good. And combine that with like the character that you were talking about of like, yeah, we're all trying to help each other. Where I get to go bother the engineers and be like, hey, I need to know this. I need to understand this. Help me out here. So it's always cool to see kind of people dropping in from, growth popping over into the marketing channel, or marketing popping over into engineering, or to research, or wherever it happens to be. Just there's that back and forth is a lot of fun actually, and I feel like it's usually like educational, and sometimes it's just entertaining. But
it is, it's all of that, and it's so important. Like one for just enjoying work in general, right? Because you vibe with your colleagues, but it's also very important for the company as a whole, because Raiku as an infrastructure provider, once you have, I guess, the core established of the product, there is so much that you can then build on top of it. And there's not one single person that, can think of everything. So having everyone chip in on ideas, on a daily, weekly basis, you will end up building something much more impactful as a result of this culture, right? So it's very important.
You mentioned earlier that one of the things you're really proud of is how Raiku has been able to kind of position themselves in the Solana ecosystem as like a trusted project. Like other people can look at Raiku and say, yeah, this is a legitimate project. They got a strong team. They're building a really cool product. What if you could give one piece of advice to founders building on Solana that kind of encapsulates your journey that you wish you would have known starting out with Raiku? What would that piece of advice be to Solana founders that are trying to build something here?
Well, at the end of the day, people care just about one thing, and that is what you're saying true? and can you deliver? On our side, it has taken a lot of time to deliver because unfortunately, building a client and an infrastructure project, at least in our domain, is taking a long time. So there will always be people that will doubt you, of course, always be. But ultimately, people care about delivering and seeing results, right? If you can find one way to achieve just incremental results that you can use as proof points, the earlier on you can do that, the better. We always try to do it from a technical standpoint. Like, yes, there was always proof points that we could refer to, but never in a production environment. We can do that now, which is good. So we had to then be creative, I would say, on ensuring that there is proof points on the commercial side. Because there's so many different ways you can validate and defend an idea or concept that hasn't been proven before, but you have to have an open mind on how you want to tackle that. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and kind of an extension of that question, going back to the whole 2-year history of Raiku, is there anything that you look back at and be like, I wish I could have a do-over on this specific thing that you could try again in the process, knowing what you know now?
Did we lose you?
No, I'm thinking.
Okay.
It's a tough question.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things, of course. Hiring, knowing what I know now about what should be prioritized, what you should look for, hiring is one. The second one is, when you start a company from scratch and maybe you haven't done it before, maybe you have. If you have, you probably have some sort of systems already in place which you can copy paste to just make it a little bit smoother, right? So project management, product management, writing specs, all of this stuff. If I could go back to day one, I think it would have helped if we had clearer specs for sure, because then we could have developed something a little bit faster without too much trial and error, right? So that's one, like clearer organization in multiple aspects, but mostly coming down to technical product management and spec writing to ensure that everyone is on the same page. The hiring part, because a company is really, what the company is a collection of people, and ensuring that the people are the right ones, one on their domain expertise, but also from a character standpoint, that's vital. So the earlier you can get that right, the better you set yourself up for success and the company. I think the third one, and I think most founders will probably agree with this, not that I should speak on anyone's behalf, but the challenges that you're dealing with as an early stage founder is not something you can typically go and talk about with your friends, really, because it's hard to relate to if you've never been in that position. And finding a network of individuals or a mentor or a set of mentors that can guide you through your journey. I wish I did that earlier, because that is so helpful. And it will give you a bit of peace of mind as well. Because as a founder, you need to be you're expected to be a domain expert across 100 different topics. And obviously you can't be, it's impossible, but you also have to be. So, and that comes with a lot of pressure and frustration and, dealing with that plus everything else that comes with running a startup and growing it and pushing it day in and day out. There's a lot of stuff that you would like to seek advice on, but it's really hard to get advice on unless you know someone specifically who has been in your shoes. And they don't have to have been in your shoes. For example, in my case, building a crypto startup, any startup or company building experience would help. That I would have done sooner.
Makes total sense. We've talked about some of the struggles and some of the things we've kind of gotten through. Let's cheered up a little bit. What are we looking forward to right now? Because I know we've got a whole bunch of exciting stuff coming out. Part of this is me also just asking because I'm trying to keep track of all the stuff I'm allowed to versus not talk about in public right now. So I know we've got some exciting announcements coming out here very, very soon that we're kind of planning around here in marketing. But you want to give us kind of I guess what are some of the things coming up here in the next couple of weeks, month or two that you're particularly really excited about right now? Because I know we've got a lot of stuff I know that can go to a bunch of different areas right now.
Yes, mainnet is coming in a limited fashion at first, where we will pretty much work with a small subset of commercial partners, both on the supply and demand side, to ensure that we can get targeted customer feedback, essentially early days. And the reason for this is we want to make sure that once we launch, let's call it full scale, not just with a set of limited partners, Raiku, 1.0 is as good as it can possibly get. So I'm excited to start that process to work with the commercial partners in a production environment, so on mainnet. And then we have also multiple smaller ancillary projects which will also launch at the same time. And we've already gotten quite good commitments in terms of customers wanting to use those products, so that's exciting. And then at the same time, in parallel, I've been working on a completely new, I guess we can call it product line, which is not protocol focused. It's what I call platform focused, which allows us to package Raiku, so basically the product proposition, quite differently. And I think it is something we as an industry needs. Like, for example, if you were to compare a crypto infrastructure project, let's call it like payments, for example, to an infrastructure payments company in Web2, those two companies would look very different, like just by looking at their website, but they do the same thing, kind of. But why is crypto always different? You know? And we need to expand our horizon, our market. And by that, we need to bring in new customers. And I've been spending a fair amount of time speaking with ex-CEOs or senior leadership individuals that comes from traditional finance. This includes asset management as a vertical, payment as a vertical, fintech overall. And through those conversations, I learned, honestly, so much, but also how we need to position Raiku and describe what we're doing in terms of value proposition. And it's very different. It's very different than what I've done before, because what I've done before is, speaking with crypto investors and customers in crypto that knows crypto. But now, when you're speaking with someone that has worked, 30 years at JP Morgan, they don't know the, crypto jargon. Neither should they. But
yeah.
also,
What's a CU? What are we talking about here? Yeah.
Yeah, but funnily enough, though, a lot of the problems that TradFi has been dealing with when there is a financial actor operating, in a market, the problems that they are dealing with is actually very similar to the problems we are dealing with in crypto, but they're solved very different. The solution is very different. But drawing parallels to that has, I guess, led to some revelations, at least on my side, on what we need to do next. And I'm excited about that because that will be a massive unlock.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Everyone in the Discord, I'm opening the wallet submission for the NFT right now. So you can go to the Liveness site, submit your wallet address, and go get an NFT for attending today's Raiku Townhall. But that's all I had to say. You're good.
Nice.
Go. This does kind of tie in well to something I wanted to ask you about too, which is kind of going full into like the crypto jargon and all the stuff that we're kind of working to abstract away from a lot of these potential customers and people that want to use the chain. How are you thinking about like MCP coming up? Because this is obviously going to be like a big base fundamental level sort of change to a lot about how it works on Solana. And our job as a company is to basically not make that, like not even expose that to the customers, right? To like, whereas like we worry about that so that they don't have to, right? So I'm kind of curious how you're thinking about that process. Obviously, the sort of proposed roadmap right now is sometime early next year that they want to start implementing it. Obviously, I think most of us are kind of expecting, there's probably going to be some delays at some point, right? That's just how any kind of massive undertaking like this just works. But yeah, curious to get your thoughts.
So we discussed this quite a bit internally. Like overall with MCP and the other proposals which is related to it, what we're really talking about is an entirely new network, right, from a spec standpoint. And I think there's just so many unknowns, basically variables up for questions, that it's hard to know specifically how this will pan out. I also think, in general, the timeline which has been communicated is slightly optimistic. So yes, I certainly think there's going to be delays, but it's hard to it's hard to know specifically the impacts of it because there are so many questions still unanswered. And I think the only way we will know the answers to those questions is also to see how the network is really performing and developing over the next 12 months. So, for example, if we're working with 5 big clients on the demand side, and we can clearly see that in the current MCP proposals, there is just something that is clearly not going to work for them, then the network as a whole needs to decide, well, do we want to facilitate for the requirements that this set of clients have or not, and what is the cost of it? So I think it's frankly a bit too early to tell, but from a product standpoint, yeah, absolutely not. Like we do not want to expose the underlying network complexities to our clients. That that's kind of why we're here, to make it easy. So, and that we will do.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's I kind of like looking at all of this kind of a bit as a puzzle. That's, I think we all to some degree do like enjoy, because that's otherwise we probably wouldn't be working on trying to figure out these weird and incredibly niche problems. Oh man, I'm jealous. I forgot my Red Bull today. Robin loves Red Bull as much as I do. So for the viewers here,
oh yeah. Listen, I saw the image of your fridge. There's a lot of Red Bull there.
The sad part is, that wasn't all of it either.
Oh really? Oh my gosh.
No, yeah, because I get it. I don't know if this should be a respect thing. I think this is more of a, you're gonna die at 35 thing.
No, but, please don't say that. I drink so much Red Bull myself. Jesus. Yeah.
You got to, man. You got to. I had like a subscription coming from Amazon that I would just spend too much time away from home, so it just kind of piled up, and I just didn't get through all of it. So
yeah, you can get it on Amazon. That's a good one. I'll look that up.
Dude, instead of paying $2, $3, $5 at the gas station or convenience store or whatever, get it for like 70 cents a can, man. Just order in bulk. I'm telling you.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll die at 34 instead of 35.
Yes.
No dying. We're not losing our CEO. We're not allowed to do that.
No, we're not allowed. It's not.
It'll be fine.
So, Robin, I want to ask, there seems to be a lot of hacks happening recently in DeFi across crypto, whether it's social engineering attack, whether it's protocol level attacks. There seems to be more of a focus on security in the crypto world. How is Raiku thinking about security? I know we said earlier we hired a full-time security guy, which is amazing. But how are we thinking about security as we're building this protocol?
Well, simple answer to that is working with external partners as well, which is trying to expose all of the vulnerabilities really and patch them up before you go live. The good thing is that we are working on the clients in which we're working on. We already know that the baseline which we started on is well covered from a security standpoint. And since we also know exactly what changes we will introduce to the client, it's, I wouldn't say easy, but it's relatively easy to at least know exactly what you need to test for to see if there is any vulnerabilities that you might have introduced. So we are doing a quite targeted approach there to ensure that whatever we are launching with is well covered from a security standpoint. But then also, and this is from, I guess, a technical perspective, but then you mentioned I think this is very important. That is really easy to overlook is the social engineering side of things, right? That is something that we also need to ensure that is bulletproof. Fortunately, both of those are on our radar, and we're doing that. But I actually think the recent hacks which you just referred to, most of them I think is due to social engineering, no? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
know.
drift exploit as well as the was the Aave exploit social engineering? It was,
That
wasn't
one,
it?
I think it might have been. I think the kelp DAO one was also like a combination of like some social engineering and like a supply chain attack. I don't know, dude. April's been just
Oh,
an
really?
abysmal month
Oh,
for security
yes.
crypto. Yeah, but
I remember the supply chain attack. Oh, that's true. There's always going to be attack vectors, though.
yeah. I
Always.
know on the social engineering front, I know we had a conversation about this in marketing, just about, hey, as we're starting to reach out to like, make connections for, getting people onto Solana circuits that we do every week, or, Chris, our new PR guy, as he's reaching out to journalists or whatever, it's like, okay, always make sure you get sort of the handshake of like, okay, I'm verifying that this is actually the person from this publication or from this company that I'm talking to. Just because somebody says there's somebody doesn't mean that they are. You always have to confirm that with the organization. There's a lot of attack vectors, but definitely something we're thinking about for sure.
100%. And for any founders out there, by the way, there's a lot of fake Telegram VC profiles. Always verify. Always.
Yeah, for sure. Back to less scary news. Despite all this crap going down, it's Q1 this year, dude, Solana did like $1.1 trillion in economic activity, which is some crazy numbers.
Do we know where the economic activity was generated? Like application, origin, or
Yeah, so there is some breakdown, but basically the total count is basically just money moving around for whatever reason, right? That's kind of like the
Okay.
sum total. So some of that's a little bit more useful than some of the rest of it. But even if you like take it super conservatively and say like, okay, half of it was just people moving from one wallet to another that they own both of, that's still $550 billion moving around on chain on Solana. That's still insane numbers, especially consider where we were a couple of years ago. The demand's here, man.
the demand is
People are
here.
using the chain.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I think there's no doubt that Solana's network has crossed, and I think it did for ages ago, the minimum or the threshold of minimum adoption, if that makes sense. Like from a data volume standpoint, active wallets, applications which are being used. And it's clear that it's sticky, right? Because that's basically what you're referring to. It's a sticky user base and demand. And that's what you want to see. Now, I'm excited to see how we can help grow that, because I know we can. And I think we'll start to see results, honestly, relatively early. It's not going to take 12 months. Probably going to be in the next 3 to 6 months. And obviously incremental growth, but yeah, we got things to look forward to here. Let's double that number.
Let's do it. Let's do it,
Let's
man.
do it. Huh. Do we know what it was like 2 years ago, a year ago, just to compare?
I don't know off the top of my head. I feel like I did have those numbers somewhere. I'm not going to go shuffle through my billion tabs open right now to go find them, though.
Do you know what? Next time, I'll have the data engine API ready, and we should pull up some. Yeah, we should pull up some data on screen so we can see the progress and how it's developing, both real time but also historically on many different aspects. I think the data engine that we have now is collecting 1,222 data points. So we should be able to get some in-depth views.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And you just leaked that we're bringing you back, and we're gonna make this a regular thing, which we're pretty excited about.
Yeah.
But we are coming up on time. I will ask you one more question, Robin, which is kind of a crowd pleaser. Feel free to answer however you like. Two very special words. When, token.
When the time is right.
Another good answer.
That's a devious grin he has on his face. I don't know if I've seen that one before.
No, but honestly, I can't. Yeah. When the time is right.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things, and we probably got to go ask Charlie, our legal guy, before talking about that and all that. But you know what we can talk about?
Yeah, I was actually going to add to that. Let's say you launch a token the moment you have your product ready. And, you know, I think most does in crypto. You can clearly see the result of it. And that is, you need to ensure that there is demand and revenue streams, and you can prove that that is growing, right? So when the time is right, because it is in everyone's interest, isn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah. I will say we do have queries to talk about one. It's not the token, but RK Soul. I know we brought it up. That's coming. And it's coming real quick. Yeah. So that is
really fast. For sure. Quite soon, in fact.
Yes. We don't have a specific launch date yet, but yes. You want to repeat that? I think I cut you off on the street there.
I was just saying, it's weeks. Yeah. It's not months or quarters or years. So very soon.
Yeah. Yep. So we're going to be talking a lot more about that. Robin, we are almost at time. Is there anything else that you want to kind of say, get out there to the people before we let you go?
You know, maybe we can focus on, next time we can look at historical data, stuff like that. And maybe we can talk about the general direction long term on what I basically hinted at earlier, right? With the new product line and all of that fancy schmancy, exciting stuff.
Yeah, I just hopped off a call right before we hopped on here with Conrad talking about one of those things. I won't specify, but there's a couple different like mini teams kind of cooking throughout the company right now on a couple different things.
There is.
Yeah, it's fun times, man. It's exciting. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been great, and we're looking forward to getting you back on here a little more often.
Me too. Doing something different is nice.
Yeah,
it's refreshing.
Yeah, I can tell you just kind of like relax, like, I just get to like hang out for a minute.
Yeah, honestly, it really is.
So David and I keep it light. We keep it light on the stream. We're very deeply unserious and can let loose a little bit.
I love it.
All right, guys. All right. Well, we are at time. Thank you so much, Robin, for joining us. Love you, David, brother.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys on Tuesday for the next Intern Deep Dive. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.